Well, a low-budget independent film about the child sex trafficking trade is coming to Australian cinemas after igniting a culture war in the United States. The Sound of Freedom has been a box office hit, particularly among America's Christian right-wing groups and QAnon conspiracy theorists. And Aussie audiences will get to see what the fuss is all about next month. Here's a quick look.
We're Homeland Security. You know we can't go off rescuing kids in Colombia.
This job tears you to pieces. This is my one chance to put those pieces back together.
We're talking about extracting an 11-year-old girl from an army of rebels.
Not just her. I'm talking about rescuing hundreds of kids.
She could be a block down the road, or she could be in Moscow, Bangkok, LA.
Over 2 million children a year are being sucked into the deepest recesses of hell. If we do nothing, someday it's gonna reach the likes of you.
Okay, so it looks really intriguing, but anti-trafficking advocates, they do welcome the attention on the subject, but they're somewhat wary about this particular film. Now, among those who are cautious is Suzanne Lewis-Johnson. She is the CEO of More Trafficking. Suzanne joins us now from Ohio. Suzanne, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so you've seen the film, and before we go into your misgivings about the movie itself, what were your initial thoughts?
I was concerned when I first saw the movie. I spent 10 years as an FBI agent, primarily investigating crimes against children and specifically human trafficking. And I actually resigned from the FBI, from my position as a federal agent, because I believe there was so much misinformation out there in the public arena, and particularly in the faith arena and people who shared my faith. So I think it's really interesting that you have a lot of folks who are latching on to this movie and this narrative, who are coming from a faith background. And really what the movie is communicating to them is that to put your faith in action, you need to get behind this narrative. And yet for me, it was that false narrative that I left the FBI to combat, because that misinformation I saw was costing children's lives. It was costing the lives of those who were vulnerable to trafficking and who were being trafficked. And so we really need to reset the conversation based on accurate information. And so I was highly concerned.
Okay, so talk us through the misinformation that you spotted in this film.
Absolutely. A few of the things that first come to mind, first of all, the sudden abductions. There is a portion where you just see sudden abduction after sudden abduction. Traffickers are much more sneaky than that. If they were going out and suddenly abducting children, suddenly off the street all the time, people would be immediately spotting it and stopping it. They have to pretend that it's something else. Traffickers create false narratives and prey on children's vulnerabilities. It's a much longer process than that. And of course, in a film, you're going to have something that's condensed, so you won't be able to include all of the pieces. But the way that's shown to unfold is just generally not how it happens at all. So frequently it will happen online, or it will happen through somebody that a child or a vulnerable person meets or already knows in real life. That's where they're going to get taken advantage of. And one of the other pieces of this movie is the messaging about children being trafficked, moved across borders to be sold for sex. And again, there are all sorts of crazy, terrible things that happen in this world, but the reality is there are children in every community around this globe who are vulnerable. And I didn't have to leave my home community in Ohio as an FBI agent to find cases of children who were being exploited and trafficked. It was happening in my backyard with children who were from my own country, my own state, and my own community. They didn't have to be brought in overseas.
Suzanne, as we mentioned, this film has done particularly well amongst those who attend the Christian church and those who, subscribe to QAnon beliefs as well. Is there a possibility that this film actually feeds into public fear and paranoia that's already there, and then perhaps, feeding into that fear of the others?
Yes. Whether intentionally or inadvertently, what this film does is use trafficker tactics to cause people to take particular actions. There's a call to action here. That's what traffickers do. Traffickers weave a false narrative. Traffickers use fear to control people. And so there is absolutely not only a danger of that happening here, but we're seeing it happen here.
Suzanne, it is fascinating talking to you. I wish we had more time to explore this topic a little bit more, but thank you so much for joining us here on Weekend Breakfast. Suzanne Lewis-Johnson there from More Trafficking.
Thank you.